Good morning, everybody, and welcome to PSG of Mercer County. In addition to a Good Friday morning, of course, we had last week off for the holiday. Hope you enjoyed it. And in addition, it is Happy Aloha Friday. And so if you're visiting us for the first time and wondering if my shirt or chest is blurry, no, I wear an Hawaiian shirt every Friday, and I'm doing so right now. I have lots of them, a closet full of them, and so I do wear a different one each week. And in addition to being Aloha Friday, today is National Roof Over Your Head Day. They really got a national day for everything. And so what it's meant to do is, we should be grateful for the things we have, I guess starting with the roof over our head. So we get to celebrate, I guess, in our house, having a celebration for National Roof Over Your Head Day. So welcome to PSG of Mercer County. The Professional Service Group of Mercer County is a group that is here for you, anybody that is in any kind of career transition. It's not just for people in central New Jersey or Princeton. It's anywhere in the country. Among the resources that we do have is we do have our website. Our website is called psgofmercercounty.org. psgofmercercounty.org. If you haven't seen it before, it is more than just a landing site. It's more than an online business card. It is over 120 web pages of content. There's a tremendous amount of information there. And it's more information than just what's local. We wanted to make this a website for everybody. We do have some local stuff, but it's really more than just a local website. So go check out our website, psgofmercercounty.org, and see if there are any resources there that are for you. One thing I do like to promote for all of us are on our professional development tab. So right at the top of the screen, we have a menu and there's a professional development tab. And when you open that up, inside the professional development tab is a link called e-learning. And so if you're thinking of taking some sort of online or e-learning class, and you don't know where you may be able to find one, you may be able to find some e-learning websites on ours. If you can't find a good e-learning website, I'd be very surprised because we've got links to 77 e-learning websites. A lot of them are free. Some of them are you just pay for the individual class, you don't need subscriptions, and some of them is a subscription model. We didn't want to exclude the paid versus the unpaid because we really wanted to make as many available as possible to everybody. And if you ever stumble across an e-learning website and you think it might be something we should share on our website, just let me know. Send us an email, psgofmercercounty@gmail.com, and we will look to add that as well. We don't have a goal in mind. We don't have to hit 100 by the end of the year or anything like that. We just want to have good e-learning websites for all of us to be resources. So go take a look at our website. In addition, we do have our LinkedIn group. Our LinkedIn group is called PSG of Mercer County. And so it is a bit of a private group. It is not a hidden group. You can easily find it on your own. You don't need to be invited to attend our group. So when you look on the groups, search for PSG of Mercer County, look for the group, search for it, and then press the join button. Now, by a private group, what I mean is you will be put in pending status. We won't accept you into the group immediately, and we do that on purpose. And the reason why is what we will do is we will check our emailing list or any of our weekly attendance. GoToMeeting does let me know people that have attended by name. And we want to make sure that it's someone that has attended one of our meetings at least once. We're just trying to keep the name collectors, the list collectors out, people that are looking to sell things to us. Nothing wrong with sales as a profession, certainly. But if those are just people looking to get a list of close to 1,700 people, and that's their intention, that's not what this is for. This is for all of us to contribute, to learn, to share. You can share articles, job leads, comment on other people's posts. So all good information. So be active if you can in our LinkedIn group. One thing you may want to post, maybe you got an email from a recruiter about a terrific position that has nothing to do with you or your career. I'm sure we've all gotten those emails. You might want to copy and paste the content out of the email and put it in a new discussion in our group. So that way you get to share it with other people. And then you also get a little bit of credit with LinkedIn that you're active in LinkedIn and in our group. And you do want to be active in LinkedIn. So once again, our ground rules are, I'm turning the meeting over to our presenter, Alex Freund. I will introduce him in just a moment. I will ask again or remind you, keep your microphones on mute. You have a microphone button at the bottom of your screen. If it's green, your microphone is on, so click on it so your microphone is off. Again, we just want to make sure there's no accidental background noise. This is leaf blowing season. Maybe your neighbor's got the leaf blowers going. It'll be a little disruptive. I had that just the other day, so I'm not expecting that here. And so we just want to keep that noise down, or maybe the telephone in your back of your room, barking dog, barking kids, whatever you got at home. And just want to minimize that interruption. But Alex will be entertaining questions during the presentation. Whenever you have a question, you could just use chat, that little circular icon in the upper right corner. And if you type the word question, what I'll do is either Alex or I will see it, and if it's not Alex, if I see it, I will say, oh, excuse me, Alex, there's a question, and he will pause. I know he's got a couple of intermission points in his program as well, so he may stop and ask. And or in addition to writing question, you can write your question, so type the word question plus your question, and I will read it on your behalf. And so that is those are our ground rules. So once again, oops, where'd it go? There we go. PSG of Mercer County is just pleased to welcome our presenter this morning, Alex Freund. Known as the landing expert, Alex helps his clients improve their interview performance by removing the fear so they feel comfortable and confident during the process. For the last 15 years, Alex has helped more than 1,200 clients ranging from managers to CEOs in a variety of industries. Alex is volunteering and active in several job search networking groups where he is an occasional presenter. He teaches via his workshops on interviewing, resumes, LinkedIn, value proposition, personal branding, and personal marketing. For the last decade, Alex has been managing and publishing via his website, landingexpert.com. His website is landingexpert.com, the Landing Expert Directory. The Landing Expert Directory is a very popular free resource of job search networking groups. I do encourage you to take a look. So PSG of Mercer County is always pleased to welcome the landing expert, Alex Freund.
David, thank you very much. Nancy, thanks for clapping. It's always a pleasure being here. It's a privilege, and I really enjoy being on these presentations because that's the only time nowadays that I can see my friends, and I'm a people person, so I certainly enjoy doing that. Anyhow, about my presentation today, it's a fast-paced, it's colorful, unquestionably entertaining, and I'm certain educational. So I will move fast. I have two spots where I will stop and I'm going to ask questions, but that should not prevent you in the interim to write in the chat and stop me anytime in the middle of the sentence. I will stop and I will answer your question. The whole objective is for you to feel comfortable and you to feel that your questions have been answered. So I titled this is, by the way, one of my most favorite presentations, although I have several, but I'm biased, of course, but I titled it, Can You Influence the Interviewer? And here are 6 ways you can. So we are going to talk about reasoning, reciprocity, herd behavior, attraction and familiarity, authority and scarcity. These are fun topics. And the way we're going to do it, I'm going to share a story or two on a specific influencer, one of the 6. And more important is the helpful tips that I'm going to share with job seekers. So the first one is reasoning. So when we ask someone to do us a favor, it is more effective if we provide the reason why. So the story goes like this. This is an office setting. If you remember, in the olden days, we had what we call the Xerox room or the copier room. And people were standing there by the copier to wait until the previous person is finishing copying. So an experiment was run, and again, this is an experiment, so there are some actors there, But what they wanted, they hired an actor to kind of dash into the Xerox room as soon as somebody is done, not allow the next person in line to make a copy. The individual came with one page, put it on the Xerox machine, push a button, and she left. But this is exactly what she did. And the actors were looking around, what are the people in the room waiting? What are they commenting about this lady just jumping the line? Of course, they were not very happy about it. So now they do it again on a different floor, in a different Xerox room, and the same actress comes in with one page, and she looks at the people that are waiting, and she said, "Excuse me, I just have one page. My boss is waiting for this. It is very urgent." And then she puts on that page, pushes a button, and she leaves. And the actors, the audience that were there to record the reaction, they were very understanding and said, "No problem, of course." So now the question is this: how come when the first time, the same scenario, she just, with chutzpah, she went there, put a copy there, pushed the button and left, and everybody was upset. But when you explain, because my boss is waiting for this, it is very urgent for him, all of a sudden, people were very, very understanding. So there is something to learn from this. When answering interview questions, provide the reason for your action, followed by a success story for validation. When you bring an example in an interview, explain the why, because this is what the audience wants to hear. So here is my next example. That's interesting. So the story goes that a lady in Arizona, in Mesa, Arizona, had a jewelry store. And she was selling these blue stones, which I'm sure you're familiar with. And on the display case, there were several, and they were just not selling. So the owner of the store goes to one of her associates, a sales lady, and she said, "Look, I'm going next week on vacation, but when I'm coming back from vacation, I would like to adjust the prices for this." And then she went on vacation. A week later, she comes back to the store, and she looks at the display case, and the stones were not there. And she approaches her assistant, the sales lady, and said, "Oh, where are the blue stones?" And the sales lady says, "You said that when you come back, you will adjust the prices. Well, while you were away, I adjusted the prices. Actually, I doubled it. And the stones sold." So there is something to learn from this. What we can learn from this is, I have another example, and then I will tell you the conclusion. Another story, and actually I heard this story when I was just a very little boy, and I heard this story from my dad. My dad used to work for a pharmaceutical company that was in Romania. That's where we lived. So my dad said the following thing: a pharmacist that lives out in one of the villages, remote villages, shared the following story. One day, one of the farmers comes to the pharmacist, to his store, to the pharmacy, and says, "Doctor, please help me, my wife is at home and she has a terrible headache. Please, do you have anything I can get?" And the pharmacist takes a pill, wraps it up, and he said, "Yeah, give this, probably this will help her." The farmer said, "Okay, how much is it?" And he said, "Oh, it's $1." The farmer said, no, doctor, please give me the good one." So the pharmacist immediately caught on, and he said, "Oh, you want the good one? Oh, I see." So he was behind. He takes the same pill, he rewraps it in a different packaging and brings it out. And he said, oh, here it is, what you wanted, the good one. How much, doctor? How much is it? He said, oh, this is $5. Oh, thank you so much. And he took it home, and next morning he shows up and he says, doctor, thank you so much. You would not believe it. 20 minutes after my wife took this pill, the headache was done. Thank you very much. So what can we learn from this? Don't lower your salary requirement just to get an offer. Instead, emphasize your ability to make future contributions. I talk to lots of people, and I can tell you very, very often I hear, you know, I used to make, let's say, I'm just throwing a number, I used to make $100,000. But now I see a job for 75, but you know, I've been out looking, so I'm going to lower my salary to 75 because hopefully they will offer me the job. And I always tell people, don't do that. You'll be happy only for a week because you got a job. But after a week, you say, damn it, look, I made $100,000. What do they think? I'm going to do the same thing and more for 75? And all of a sudden, you will become very unhappy. So my advice to people is learn how to better market yourself, increase your value in the eyes of the job giver, the company, and you maintain the salary. Don't lower your salary. That's only a temporary solution for your happiness. So here is something very interesting. What I'm showing you here is data, it's just stuff. Can any of you tell me what this might be? Just write in the chat. What do you think I'm showing you here? It's a team A, and there are several X's there, and team B, and team C, and you know, what do you think this is? Can you make out what this is? Anybody? You can unmute yourself and say, all right, in the chat. Okay. Target flag. Yeah, target. Yeah. Okay. So let me tell you via my next slide what this is. Okay. Look at this. Yes, indeed, it targets. Some people practice target shooting, and as you can see, Team A, they hit the bull's eye, and it's very, very concentrated. Team B, the same thing, but it's very concentrated, but it's not in the bull's eye. Team C is just all over, and Team D is the same thing. So again, when I showed you this didn't make sense. But when I gave you the background, the content of what we are talking about, content and context of what we're talking about, all of a sudden this makes sense. So here is my tip for you. When answering interview questions, provide answer in context. Share the results and who benefited from your actions. You know, what I do, I help people better interview. And sometimes I hear stories and they say, I did A, B, C, D. And then in my mind, I said, okay, so what? You know, what did this do? And who was the beneficiary of what you did? So in order to complete what you want to share, say what you did, but again, what was the result? What was the outcome? And who did you do it for? Who recognized the thing that you did? Here is another example. And the topic is people make decisions by comparing. Everything we do, just pay attention. Everything we do throughout the day, we compare things to other things. And when I dealt with this subject, I recalled several years ago, I went to the local Princeton Joe's Bank. This is a men's clothing store in Princeton. And I think I bought either a jacket or a suit, and I don't remember. And, you know, so I put it on, and it was fitting and so forth. And as soon as I told the salesperson that I really like the way it fits me and so forth, he pulls out a shirt and he said, "Oh, look how well this shirt would go along with your jacket." And yeah, it went very, very well. And I said, "Oh, how much is the shirt?" And he said, "Oh, it's $45. And you know, I think now I may be wrong, but I think the suit that was, let's say, around $300. So $300 to make it with a nice fitting shirt for another $45. I said, let's go for it. But you guys don't know me. I don't buy shirts for $45. The shirts that I buy are $25 or $30 on sale. But because it went so well with that suit, and you know, what's the difference between 300 to 345, right? So I did buy it. But my point is, everything we do in this world, everything we do in our life, we always compare what we do with other similar things. So here is a tip. Interviewers are comparing candidates and selecting only when you surpass your competition. And I say this to my clients all the time. You may be absolutely wonderful and terrific, but if you compete against somebody who is wonderful and terrific plus, then that person will get the job. Again, you may be fantastic, but if someone is a little better than you are, guess what will happen? You don't get that offer. So again, you are being compared with your competition. And one of the sentences that every single client of mine hears is, you need to beat your competition. Whatever you do, you have to be a little bit better than the others that they interview. Okay, so here are my first stop. I gave you a lot of information to mull over. Any question that you have at this point?
So folks, this is your opportunity to speak with Alex directly. If you want, you can unmute yourself, or you can put your question in chat and we'll read it out loud on your behalf. Is that what you look like? I'm looking at this picture. When you were a little boy, Alex, is that your little boy picture?
No, I just found it somewhere. No, I never had this color hair. By the way, I had a lot of hair. And it was not this color, I can tell you. I was never blonde.
You know, I remember you shared a picture with myself, a few of your friends, I think when you worked at Con Edison, and you were a younger man and you had darker hair.
Yeah, and you know, when I was 18, oh my God, I remember when I went to have my hair cut, the barber always said, "You have so much hair, you're competing with my brush." He always said that. Look what aging does to you. Okay, so let's move on to the next topic. Reciprocity. The rule says that you should try to repay in kind what another person has provided you. That is a rule, that's what we always do. So, people return holiday cards to people they do not know. And the experiment I read about it is in a college setting. It's a department of psychology. The professor asked students to send out holiday cards, and he selected people in the class, and they said, you know, you take page number 1 in your local white pages, you take page number 2, you take page number 3, you take page number 4. Again, what is the white pages? If you guys remember white pages, That's a telephone directory of your local community. And basically, it was a thick book with names, address, and telephone number, but it has a name and the address. Okay, so the professor gave out holiday cards, and he asked people to put on an envelope the name and the address of people on that list, and he suggested that they all bring the addressed envelope to his department, and the administrative assistant will mail it out. But he said, please put in the upper left corner, please put your name and your address, and if people send you back a holiday card, then please bring the card into the school so we get some statistics. We know how many cards we sent out, and we want to see how many people send you reciprocate with a card. And amazingly, there was a significant number of cards received. Now, I don't know about you, but I can tell you about myself. If I receive a holiday card from an individual that I don't know, I would not send a holiday card to an individual that I don't know. But evidently, there are people that do that. They feel that they need to reciprocate. I don't know how many people remember. I have not seen them for a very, very long time. But years ago, there was this, what we call the Hare Krishna Society. And they were at street corners. I remember they were at airports. You know, you're just about looking for your flight, and one of these guys dressed like this comes to you, and he wants to put you, you know, a rose or a flower and whatever. And they do it because you would give them $1. Okay. So again, it's the same concept. They give you something and you feel you need to give them some change. Or how often do you go to a store, to a food store, and they have free samples? Whole Foods on weekends, there's always something there. Somebody wants to sell you something and they give you a free sample. Why do they do that? Because hopefully they say, oh, this is good. Where is it? Where can I buy it? Also, do you guys remember, I have here, I want to show, I still have here, I don't know if you can see it. I have labels like this that I received many, many years ago. They send you the labels with your name, and they hope that you will send a few dollars. So here is what we can learn from this. Remember, we are on the topic of reciprocity. Smart networkers offer help in anticipation of being reciprocated. You should learn this. When you networking is developing relationship. Don't be there asking, be there giving. Because always when you give, you will get. Now, you may not get it immediately, but if you are known to give, people will come back to you to reciprocate. That's a good thing for job seekers. Let's move to the third topic, herd behavior. Very common term. When people are uncertain, they are trusting the collective knowledge. An example I give, when you drive on a highway and it's noon and you're hungry, and on the right side of the road, you see two restaurants. One restaurant has 4 or 5 cars in the parking lot. The other restaurant, you cannot find one parking spot empty. The question is, where are you going to stop for lunch? There is something. I would go to the restaurant where there are lots of people, because my thinking is, if everybody is at that restaurant, there must be something that people like, and I will go there. So why do they use this canned laughter on TV and radio show? By the way, that annoys the hell out of me. There are some radio shows, and every few seconds, like 3 times a minute, they push a button and you hear in the background a kind of a laughter and it stops. And 15 seconds later, again, a laughter and it stops. I don't want to use bad word, but this sounds idiotic to me, but there is a very deep psychological issue here. They want to influence you, the listener, and because it is a known thing. If everybody's laughing, oh, it must be funny. I should laugh too. That is the reason. Another example, bartenders hint by placing on the counter a jar with money in it. Why do they do that? You go to a bar, you go to a coffee shop, and very often you have an open jar like this. It's very evident that they put a few dollars and change in it. Why do they do that? Of course, they do it because they want to influence you. They want to subliminally communicate with you that, well, it would be nice if you do like other people do. For example, you go on Amazon and there is something I think they call preferred or something like that. You go to a restaurant, you go to McDonald's, and they always have a menu item that they call it most popular or something like that. Why do they do that? Why don't they allow you to make a decision what you want for lunch? Because by putting most popular, they're influencing you. They said, oh, if everybody else takes that, probably this is what I should do. Use. So here are the tip for job seekers. When job searching, distinguish yourself instead of blending in. Don't blend into the crowd. And I know this is what we always do. That's a cultural issue. When I work with my clients, improving their interviewing skills, I said, don't do what other people do. The hiring manager will have a very hard time selecting you out of those that are very close to you. What you want to do, you want to appear different and better. So stay out of being like everybody else. For example, if you are a known speaker, highlight that. If you got a trophy, if you are, a well-known football player, that's what you should highlight, not that you are similar to the other people. Here is my second stop. Questions?
Okay, so folks, any questions? This is an opportunity to speak with Alex. Of course, there'll be time at the end as well. So
if Alex could speak a bit about the herd, how can we negotiate the herd mentality thinking? When you mentioned that when there's no clear guidance, we go with the herd mentality, and it seems to me that in the job search there's so many guidance that you don't even know what the herd mentality is. So can you share your approach as to passing out a situation where you are overflooded with idea or suggestion, like in a job search particularly?
John, I have a difficult time understanding what you said. David, could you please translate?
I would just ask, John, try one more time.
Yeah, so
make it short. Just ask your question.
Yeah. So yeah, I just wanted you to maybe expand a little bit on the concept of herd mentality, when you
Yes.
mentioned, yeah, because there's a prevalent thought that says that if you go with a group, it means that you are not novel enough, that you are not thinking outside the box enough. So I was wondering, we have to distinguish ourselves, but yet, you know, if we don't have enough guidance, we go with the herd mentality. How can we really distinguish ourselves, yet, you know, bring that novel idea
Okay.
of thinking?
Okay. I think I got it this time. When you go for an interview, remember, I interviewed many people. I'm sure you have too. And I admit to you that sometimes when I interview 3 to 5 to 7 people, sometimes 2 or even 3 people are very good candidates to be offered the job. And I got very frustrated because I said, who am I going to offer the job to? They are all very good. I have only one opening. And that is very frustrating. Now, if I interview 5 people and one is definitely fantastic, and the other ones are just good or very good, then of course the definitely fantastic is going to get the job. But if I have 2 or 3 people that are definitely fantastic, then I don't know how to differentiate. So it's your job to appear in the eye of the interviewer that you are significantly better than the other people they interview. Have I answered, Jean, your question?
Yeah, I think, thank you, partially. I think the challenge there is that sometimes we don't necessarily know who our competition is. Like if I know, yeah, ahead of the fact that I'm competing against Alex, you know, I could prepare different, like, you know, when I'm blind.
We are 100% in agreement.
So Alex, do we assume when we don't know who our competition is, that our competition is going to be very strong?
Look, of course, the answer is yes. Look, I can tell you this. For 3 or 4 decades, I interviewed people. And let me tell you, I was not known to invite to my office weak people. I invited only handpicked, only the creme de la creme.
Thank you.
And yeah, I would have a story, but I may leave it to the end. I want to continue, but if anybody wants, I have a very good example about how to differentiate yourself. Okay, so let's move on. The 4th item is attraction and familiarity. And what I say here, we prefer to say yes to someone or something we are familiar with. That's a known thing. So here is an example. We tend to donate most often when a friend or neighbor we know is asking. I have a young lady, now she's not so young anymore, but when she was several years ago, she was a part of the Girl Scouts. And once or twice a year, she's ringing our doorbell and she shows up with some sample boxes of Girl Scouts cookies. And she's asking, you know, to buy. Now, let me tell you, in this household, there is no cookies. We don't eat cookies. So every year we went to the same thing. I said, okay, just hold on for a second. I went to the wallet. I got the $10 bill. I gave it to her and I said, you know what? Take this money, give the box to somebody else. And this went on for years and years and years. But despite that, she always comes back. She always comes back. So now, do you think I give a $10 bill to everybody that rings my doorbell? No. But, you know, this was a neighbor's daughter. So, you know, I'm not going to insult her. You know, the little kid, you know, wants to make a little bit money for a group, whatever. So we gave her $10 and that's it. But my point is that you give money to an organization or to an individual you know. So here is a tip.
Just along that same line, Alex, I wonder if you remember Frank Kovac's daughter selling Girl Scout cookies at the Breakfast Club.
I definitely remember that. And you know what? I did the same thing. Juliana, you know, was a little kid there. Now she's a big girl. And I always gave, you know, $10, whatever, and I said, keep your cookies. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so what is a tip that we can learn from this? Ask for advice, introductions, and referrals from people inside company, especially those that you know. You know, I gave a $10 bill to this young lady. You know why? Because I knew her. I knew her parents. We are neighbors. So find people inside the company that you know, call them, email them, get a hold of them, ask for advice. You know, everybody loves to give advice, by the way. If you feel that they're nice, ask them if they're willing to make an introduction, and hopefully they're willing to make a referral. That's what you want. Again, find people that you know, go and ask for AIR. Another tip, ask for job search information from people whose opinion you trust. As you can see here, I have a picture of somebody that appears like a doctor. Why do you go to your doctor? Not because you found him or her at random. Somebody recommended you that individual. When you have an electric problem in your house, beyond your ability to fix it, you don't just Google electrician in my area. You ask a neighbor or somebody you trust and know, have you used this and that? Actually, a while back, I needed some sort of electric work, and I asked several opinions, and somebody told me an opinion in town, an opinion of an individual in town, and I kept asking, and somebody said, Alec, don't touch that guy. He is no good, he's too expensive. So anyhow, you ask people that you trust for an opinion. Oh, here is something that I love to share. I was watching a program on Netflix, no longer on Netflix, by the way, but when I watched it, it was called the Brain Games. Brain Games. And they talked about something very interesting. So I put here a United States Postal Service box. Why? Because everybody's familiar with it, and you know more or less how tall that box is, right? So in that Brain Games, they talked about the following. They put to the left and to the right of this box two people, two men. One was a short individual. The other one was a taller one. I would say the taller gentleman was, I would say, good looking, impressive looking. And I would say the shorter one was, I wouldn't call him impressive or good looking. The question that they asked the audience, which one do you think is the manager? And the majority of the people put the finger on the tall one and said, this is the manager, the other one is not. The fact is, the opposite was true. The manager was a short individual, and allow me to use the term good looking, was not. But you see, people were biased with their opinion only on the look. They don't know anything about these people. But if the tall one, that's supposed to be the manager. So my point is, your looks, your appearance is influencing their thinking. Another example, and again, this is from the same Brain Games series. If this happened in New York City, in a very lower Manhattan, a very popular, very busy place, there is an older gentleman, by the way, he's an actor, and there were people with a camera, and all of a sudden, while this older gentleman walks, he slips and he falls. And the camera was still running. And there was somebody with a stopwatch to find out how long it takes before somebody bends down and is asking this person, are you hurt? Are you okay? Can I help you? And it was a longer period. I don't remember how many seconds, but it was a longer period of time. They did the same experiment, exactly in the same spot, the following day, but in that case, they recruited an actress, a young actress, and the same thing happened. She was walking and she pretended she fell. It took 2 seconds before several people approached her. Are you hurt? Can I help you? Or something like that. So you see, people were impressed and influenced by the looks of the person and not by the incident. So how am I taking this concept to the interview? Make sure that when you are video interviewing, your studio-like setup is optimal. A lot of the interviews today are happening via video. You should have good lighting. The camera has to be adjusted at the eye level. You want to block your background so it's not distracted. You want to dress properly, and you should use perhaps a headset like this that assures you good quality. So there are some basics that many people going for video interviews, and they do not take this into consideration. Remember, they will remember you not based on what you said in question number 7. They will remember what they see and how they remember you visually and not auditory. And it is a known thing that attractive people show favorability in hiring decisions. That's a known thing that was tested many, many times. This is why you need to dress up and look very favorable when you go for an interview. Okay, here is the last tab before the end. Any comments on attraction and familiarity? And I want to ask you, have you had such experiences? I would like you to share. Please unmute yourself.
Yeah, Alex, there's a question posted from Gary. Please talk about the importance of developing good chemistry with the interviewer as part of interviewing them, influencing them.
Absolutely, Gary. Thank you so much for asking this. You know, it's a relationship that you want, relationship building. This is what you want in an interview. The better you are at this, the better it will go. If the interview decision is heavily weighed on your ability to establish a relationship with them. Remember, all the people that are invited to be interviewed, they're all handpicked. All of them could potentially take the job. After all, they're handpicked. So the question is, who is going to get the offer? And one of the examples that I always lovingly share with my clients is a story that I learned actually from one of my clients many years ago. He's interviewing in Manhattan with a financial institution, and he told me 10 minutes into the interview, he's looking up on the wall and he sees a big picture of the interviewer leaning on a bicycle. He's wearing a helmet, he was all dressed up, and he has a big smile on his face. And he said, "Oh, I can tell you like bicycling." And he told me that 80% of the interview was, what bicycle do you own? What group do you belong to? How often do you go? Everything, 80% of the interview was a chit chat or a relationship building about bicycling, and 20% was, can you do the job? But remember, you're already pre-qualified that you can do the job. You know, if you like bicycling and I like bicycling, how can you be a bad person for this position, right? So Gary, good question. That's how you establish relationship. Always find something that you have in common with the other person. Yeah, John, go ahead. But you unmute yourself.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Alex. I was wondering, now that we are dealing with the diversity, equity, and inclusion issue, you know, knowing that familiarity, you know, we hire people that we know, like, and trust. How do we balance that with the diversity, equity, and inclusion? Because obviously, just because I know Alex, you know, and I like Alex, it does not mean that Alex is the best candidate. So how do we overcome that bias, at least that we all have, to make the best choice?
Jean, this is an outstanding question. And I have to tell you, and I'm embarrassed to answer, that there is a diversity and inclusion in America is only in the books. It is not practiced adequately. People are clearly discriminated against. It is against the law, but it is practiced all the time. All the time. Now, I want to tell you something, and please believe me. I always discriminated, but in the other way. I always favored people of color, younger people, and women. Why? Because if everything is equal, I wanted this group to give a chance. That's the reason I always practice it. Now, of course, if they are close, if there is a young man and a young woman and everything is almost identical, in my case, always the job will go to the woman. That's what I practiced all my career, because this is what my heart tells me this is the right way to do it. I know for fact many other people don't practice that way, but I'm telling you the truth. Any other question, David?
Yeah, Alex, I wondered, you're in an interview and you've hit on a topic that may not be related to the jobs itself. I had this experience once. Somehow we got onto the subject of Hawaii, and it's going on and on and on. It's a monologue from the interviewer. Get to the end, I said, gee, I'm trying to get back to the subject. What do you think about the whole idea of stopping the monologue?
Or stopping what?
Stopping their monologue about a subject they like.
Oh. Well, certainly the interview went in the wrong direction. That's what I understand from what you said, correct?
Yes.
And the frustration. Now, who was driving this? The interviewer, not the interviewee, am I right?
That's correct. I mean, I want to get back to, hey, there's a job here. What kind of questions you got for me about it?
I want to tell you, and again, I don't have, if I have time here, I had in my lifetime, as a professional, several situations in an interview that are just totally off the chart. The interviewer is the one that is controlling the interview. And if they are insisting in talking of the subject, it's very hard for you to bring them back. Now, the question is this: why are they talking of the subject? And my answer is, they feel very uncomfortable interviewing, but they feel very comfortable talking with that particular subject.
Yeah. Yes. Do you continue to try and bring them back?
You may continue, but I can't assure you success.
Yeah. You know, at the end, in trying to bring her back, it was, you know, do you have any more questions for me? And she says, yeah, can you start on Monday? Of course, I shut up and got out of the room.
You know, I hear very interesting, surprising stories all the time. All of a sudden, I heard recently about a situation. A professional was interviewing by a recruiter, and next morning he received an offer without even talking to the hiring manager.
Yeah.
Now, that offer fizzled out, by the way, but it appeared next day that this is an offer. Don't look into logic when you are looking for the interview process. It's not. I wrote many years ago a blog about this. Don't expect logic, because there is no logic. Okay, let me move on. Authority. We are conditioned to obey authority figures such as parents and teachers. I think I'm saying here the obvious. You know that. And by the way, I hope you practiced it, because I did. Okay, so here is an example. This happened somewhere. Again, this was an experiment in psychology. They put in front of the ATM machine, they put a little sign. The ATM machine is out of order. Please deposit your money to the policeman. There was a policeman, or at least somebody that was dressed like a policeman, in front of the ATM machine. And of course, all this was, they had a camera, and you know, they videotaped this and so forth. They wanted to see how many people that came to the ATM machine to deposit money. They read the sign, how many people would give the money to the policeman. Now, I don't know about you. I would not give my cash to the policeman just because the sign says so. But some people did. Of course, they were given back the money right away. But this was just for an experiment in psychology. You know, the policeman looked very official. There was a sign. There are some people that they are very prone to obey orders. Authority extended into social media. So I'm talking about authority, but how this is extended into social media. If people think that you are important, so will Google. Make friends with social media power users who can promote your content. I don't know how many of you recognize these faces. I know all these people personally. Actually, William Arruda, I don't know him personally, but I read stuff that he writes. But you see, I'm associating with these people. All these people have an incredible amount of followers. So you want to be associated with these people, because these people are going to be those that are going to promote you again and again. If people like, again in quotation, your message or ask to connect, you must have influenced them positively. So you want to write and you want to create something that people either like what you write or they want to connect with you. Because Google or LinkedIn takes that, oh, if they connect with you, therefore you must be important. So here is a tip for job seekers. Associate yourself with someone considered an authority. For example, by clerking for a famous judge or reporting to the senior executive or a CEO. If you reported to the CEO, you want to somehow mention that on your LinkedIn profile or resume because you must be important. What other people say about you is more important than what you say about yourself. In an interview, don't say, oh, I'm wonderful, look at me, because nobody will believe you. But if you say, my boss commented when we had one-on-one that he enjoyed the fact that I was able to increase sales by 18% in 4 months. Because that the boss says and not you. Change from being a generalist to being a specialist, because that change will convey the authority employers are seeking. Become a specialist. Don't be a generalist. I see this so very often. And actually, I can tell you on a personal level, 15 years ago, when I started doing what I'm doing, I said I'm a career coach. Admittedly, I didn't have a lot of business. Again, I was just beginning, but I want to be fair with you. I didn't have a lot of business. But then I came to a conclusion that, nobody wants a jack of all trades. People are looking for an expert. And that's where I started narrowing my lane. And instead of saying I'm a career coach generalist, now I promote I'm an interview preparation coach. And people that seek an interview preparation coach, perhaps they will email me and write me. So the more I became narrow, the more my business has improved. So I want to give you guys a hint. I know what you want to do. You want to influence the audience that you can do A and B and C and D and E, that you can do everything. I mean, that's what you want to show. They're not looking for a jack of all trades. They're hiring and interviewing you because you are a specialist. So try to narrow it down and show them that actually you have very well developed expertise in some areas. That is what they will hire you. By publishing, you are intuitively considered an authority, thus an influencer. That is the reason I always say, publish, 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 because that will attract people to you. Your LinkedIn tagline should be your hook. Statistics says that 2 of 10 people read only the tagline. Oh my God, you're so punished. If 8 people don't like your tagline, then don't read any further. That's a punishment. And here is my last subject. People seem more motivated by the thought of losing something than by the thought of winning something. So people are motivated by being afraid that they are going to lose something. That's psychology. For example, advertisers say limited quantity or sale ends soon. Why do they do that? Because they want to put you in a frame of mind. Oh my God, I need to buy today because the sale ends soon. If I'm not buying it today, it will not be there. And very recently, I read something that makes so much sense to you. Let's say, John Sampson, you're on my screen here in front of me, so I am going to use you. John, I want to give you $20, a $20 bill. How do you react to that?
Thank you, Alex. Do you happen to have 40?
You what?
Thank you, Alex. Do you happen to have 40?
Okay, now, let me give you another example. John, I don't know how to tell you, but you still owe me $20, you know. How do you react to that? You see, when I gave you $20, you said, that's great. But when I say, John, you owe me $20,
Right.
you don't react the same way.
Okay.
So it's the same thing like here. People are afraid of losing out. Anything rare or unique becomes more valuable. That's the reason you need to appear to being unique in the eyes of the interviewer. Again, if you blend into the crowd, not good for you. You need to highlight what is the reason you are different than your competition.
You know, Alex, that really gets to a subject. I'm in your camp on that one, but so many people are really afraid of, I'm going to use the term standing out. Give you an example, person in an interview sequence, they need a senior person. Why should I hire you? Comes up. And she says, don't you want another adult in the room? Well, when I use that example, when I'm talking to folks, you have to see the reaction. You know, you have rocked the boat. In my humble opinion, you've stood out and it did work.
Well, look, I don't want you to use bad words here, but you know that's blatantly stupid to make such a remark in an interview. I mean, this is not nice. This is not right.
Well, even if in the interview, the point had been made a number of times, I need experience.
Well, if they are asking for experience, you may have it or you may not have it. Now, if you need 5 years experience and you just graduated from college, you certainly cannot say that you have that. If that's a requirement, if you don't have it, you don't have it. I mean, what can you do?
Got it.
Okay, let's move on. Employers are looking for Superman and not for Mr. Average. Again, don't blend into the crowd. You need to show the interviewer that you are that special. You're a Superman, you're a Superwoman. You go beyond the call of duty. This is what they want to hear. They don't want to hear that you are one of the people. Promote whatever is unique and different about you, which provide a reason to hire you. You go to, if you happen to be an Ivy League grad, say that. If you won an award, say that. If you won a competition, I don't know, say that. You remember, I'm reminded, I'm sure all of you know about Abby Kohat, that she won the ping pong competition. And in conclusion, what are your takeaways? What message in this presentation applied to you? So I want to hear you, and I'm going to put up here. Here is my contact information. If you want to connect with me, if you want to ask me a question, you want to email me, I'll leave it up there for a little bit. But now it's your turn to ask any questions.
So, folks, any other questions for Alex while he is here with us? Of course, he is always available to us, but this is a nice opportunity to have a one-on-one discussion with him.
Alex, I will start by how do we work around the gatekeepers? By gatekeepers, I mean like the HR folks or the junior recruiter that can't really understand the breadth of your experience, but yet they are the one referring you to the hiring manager or to the next step.
Jean, forgive me, I didn't understand what you said.
So Alex, he asked, how do you get past the gatekeepers? whether they're HR people or other people that know about a position?
Well, here is what you need to do. This is where networking comes in. You need to find people inside the company. These are the people that are willing to take your resume and circumvent the HR people and just take your resume straight to the hiring manager. But for that, you need to find somebody inside the company. I don't know any other ways. Let me tell you this. When I advertised for a position, I used HR to be my gatekeeper. And I hated when people circumvented it, and they did. That's the reason I want HR to be the screening body. But people always found a way to get to me through other employees or whatever. It's not easy.
Alex, there was a study by the University of Michigan a couple of years ago, and it was basically identifying that your odds of getting your job through what they called a job site application, so I guess an online submission, was 1 in 250. And I can only assume, similar to what Jerry Crispin and others say, more than 200 people apply for a job. So that's a 0.04%, 0.04. However, referral employees make up only 7% of applicants, but 40% of hires. So clearly you want to get to know somebody or use somebody that you know in the organization or has a relationship with the hiring manager.
Yep. David, I don't know if you were present at that time in the Breakfast Club when Jerry Crispin said that if you have an internal referral, your chances are improving 14-fold. That's 1,400 times. If somebody has your resume in their hand and they put it in front of the hiring manager, your chances are increasing 14-fold. That's why you want somebody to take your resume and promote you with the hiring manager.
Because that takes the point. Yeah. So that takes the 0.04%, just using his statistics, and makes it 56%. So I don't know that I would go to Atlantic City and play a game that had a 0.04% chance of winning, but I would go that had a 56% chance of winning.
Absolutely. And this is so very, very, very hard. It's so very hard because here is what I say, and again, I don't want to expose my anger on this because I'm really angry because I've been saying this to people all the years. Networking is not something you do when you're out of a job. Networking is something you do all your life. I can tell you I am practicing what I'm preaching. And for me, this is very natural and very, that's the way to do it. I am still in touch with my administrative assistant that goes back 45 years. She is now 92 years old. We are still talking. I haven't seen her for 45 years, but we are still on the phone occasionally to talk. Not because I need something from her, but keeping in touch. And I keep in touch with lots of people. David, you know that. I keep in touch with lots of people. Why? Not because I need something, but I know one thing. If I ever need something from one of those friends, they will not refuse me.
Sure.
Because I'm not coming to them in the last minute, oh, can you help me? I need a job.
Some people may remember Jack Killian. Jack Killian used to say, network all the time, everywhere, with everyone. And I thought that was a good mantra.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. But, people are, 50% of the population are introverts. What I just said for an introvert is, Alex, no, I cannot do that. I'm an introvert. Yeah, but others that are extrovert, it should be natural.
It's funny. I think introverts, that networking is perfect for introverts as an activity. And just listen for a moment. Networking is not an activity that you're successful with meeting many people at once. It's a one-on-one activity. And introverts prefer one-on-one and don't like the large group. So the introvert, even if you are in a large group of people, focus on that one person. Introverts don't like talking about themselves. Most people do. So when you're in a networking opportunity, learn as much as you can from the other person. Let them speak. And then introverts tend to be good listeners and in turn helpers. So as an introvert, you're going to listen to somebody, and then if you hear something where you can offer some guidance or advice, you're willing to do that. Extroverts tend to be a bit more about themselves because they're just talk. So if you consider yourself an introvert, consider networking as really an optimal activity, not an opportunity to be afraid of.
Right. Yep. Very well said.
There's a couple of questions that have come online. One is from Vance. Can you provide an example of a proper interview answer? I guess it depends on the Can you provide an example of a proper interview answer?
Yeah, what is the question? And I'll do my best.
Yeah, I was thinking you were going to say that.
Where is Vance? I saw him on my screen before, but he disappeared.
So if there's a specific
Alex,
question.
If I could ask a question, it would be, tell me about your management style.
Okay, let me see. Okay. Well, okay, let me change hats. Now I'm not a presenter, now I'm a candidate. So you said, Alec, can you tell me about your management style?
Yeah.
Well, you see, I can share with you that communication is what I find most important in management, and communication is a tool that you have to use properly in order to influence people. The way I use my communication skills is in situations where I have to convey some ideas with my subordinates and with my groups. I arrange it to have every 2 weeks, I have a staff meeting, which I renamed it. I called it communication meeting. I don't sit at the head of the table. I sit, with everybody else. It's a communication meeting. Also, I have something that I call one-on-one, and those meetings are scheduled weekly with my 8 direct reports, and it's an hour. And in the first 50 minutes of that hour, I want my subordinate to summarize for my benefit, what are they working on, what is the status, what is the progress, and what are the areas where I can possibly step in to help them. In the last 10 minutes, I always said, okay, the meeting is over now, just between you and me. What's going on with you? How are you doing? How are the kids? How is the dog? When did you take your last vacation? So I always use the last 10 minutes to be a little more on a personal basis and not business. That's how I communicate with my people. And frankly, for many, many decades, it served me very well. John, did you like the way I'm open for critique?
I did, it's sort of situational because, in fact, when I ask, you really don't know what I want to hear. And so you've covered the ground nicely. But
Thank you.
I didn't ask the question. Is the person who asked the question on the call? No, I guess not.
Any other question? Any other? I'm here to help you.
A few questions online, Alex. Charlotte Ann has a question. Any advice on influencing a panel interview?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, again, a panel interview is more than one person interviewing you. They may be on the same screen or they may be on different screens. There are only several things you can possibly do. First of all, look at the person that is talking, but you can look also at the other person, not in the middle of the sentence. You talk to one person and you look at the person. When you reach the end of the paragraph, you look at the other person, you look at the person. The other people can see you, but I'm keeping my eye on that person. When you finish with this, you go to the next person. Okay, don't shift your eye from person to person when you talk. And I want to tell you, this is going to be very difficult for you. Why? We are all doing this all our lives. I can tell you. Let's say you find yourself in a restaurant with 7 other people sitting around a round table. I guarantee you, when you talk, you are moving your head because you want to cover everybody. Am I right? Everybody's doing that. Not in an interview. I mean, you have to develop the discipline. You look at one person. At the end of the paragraph, you look at the next person. Okay, don't move your head while you're talking. You have to undo a very bad habit.
Now, Alex, are you using like an in-person scenario or are you using a Zoom scenario?
Either or, doesn't matter. Doesn't really matter. Doesn't mean, for example, Jean, I'm looking at you right now on my screen. Okay, again, you know, right now I'm looking at the camera, but right now you are on my left side of the screen. But I'm looking at you and I'm not doing this while I'm talking. Now I'm looking at everybody else. You see, I keep my eyes on you. When I'm done, I look at Nancy. She's at the other side. And she's smiling. By the way, you never smiled at me. Nancy's always smiling at me. So, okay.
So Alex, you've talked before about looking at the camera. So because my experience would be, if I was John or anybody else, that you're not looking at me. You're looking down at the left side of your screen. You're not looking at me. So when it's a one-on-one or panel discussion virtually, should you still do your best to look at the camera?
Look, I will share with you my opinion.
Yep.
When I will learn how to talk, how to think and talk and look at the camera, it's likely you will see me on NBC or ABC television. I don't know how to do that. I'm telling you, this is so difficult. You see, I need your reaction. Right now, I'm looking at you, David, on my screen. Okay, and you know, so I need to react to what you say.
Sure.
Mike, right now I'm looking at the camera, but you see, I'm now missing your reaction to what I'm saying.
Sure.
Impossible. I cannot do it. If you are a trained television personality, I don't know how they do it, but they are amazing. They are able to look at the camera and talk, and often they make sense. Not always, but often they make sense.
Well, I'm sure they have more specialized equipment, you know, a screen, and they're not looking for a million faces looking back at them.
They have a teleprompter, and
Charlotte Ann has a question. Alex, you mentioned that you had a good example of how to differentiate yourself that you would save for the end. Can you please elaborate?
To differentiate yourself toward the end?
I guess you had indicated at the start of the presentation that you had a good example of how to differentiate yourself, and you're now saving it for the end of the presentation.
Yeah. Okay, that's a story that I love sharing.
Good. So that'll be a final word.
Okay, so 44 years ago, I worked in the state of New Hampshire. I worked at the hospital, and I was 2 weeks with this hospital. And one morning, this lady called Jackie. Jackie was the HR director. Jackie calls me, and she said, "Hi, Alex, would you like to have lunch with me?" And I said, "Jackie, I would love to. Let's meet at lunchtime at noon in the cafeteria." She says, "Great." So comes lunch, comes noon, we go to the cafeteria, we grab our food, we sit down. As soon as we sit down, she says, "Alex, do you know why you are here?" And I, in my innocence, I said, "Yes, Jackie, I hope to have lunch with you." And she said, of course we have lunch. That's not the question. The question is, why do you think we hired you? And I said, "Jackie, I'm dying to find out. Please tell me." And this is what Jackie said. "We interviewed 5 people. 3 people did not come into consideration. But you and another guy, you were neck and neck." He said, "I met with the hospital administrator twice, and we talked about you. Should we hire Alex? Should we hire the other guy? Should we hire Alex? Should we hire the other guy?" And we couldn't come to a conclusion. 2 days later, we received from you a wonderful thank you letter. Remember, 44 years ago, there was no email, by the way. So we received from you a wonderful thank you letter. "Alex, do you understand why you have lunch with me today?" Because of the thank you letter. So that was a differentiator. That's a true story. So and I love telling this to people because sometimes, that little thank you letter changed my trajectory of my career. They could have hired the other guy, and my career would have moved in a total different direction. So sometimes something as little as a thank you letter, very well written, tilted or tipped the needle in the favorable side.
Yeah, very sweet story. Well, Alex, there are no more posted questions right now, so I will take this opportunity to thank you, because I am always appreciative of when you are able to spend some of your volunteer time with PSG of Mercer County. And I am also very appreciative that you've done so for such a long time, a big supporter of lots of groups, but you are of PSG of Mercer County as well. So thank you so much. This was such an important and relative topic. And for those of you that have followed Alex over the years, you realize that he's always expanding and growing his topics. As he learns more, he is eager to share it with all of us. So on behalf of everybody that's here, thank you for the extra work and effort that you put in as well. And we will, of course, make the video of this presentation available probably towards the end of the day. Once they can download it, there were 1 or 2 interruptions. I'll just edit those out so like it's never even happened, and then post that video. Unfortunately, Alex is not able to share his slides with us, but you can contact him directly and he can share his slide with you on a one-on-one basis. Just reach out to him, and here's his contact information. Alex is always very generous. He will respond to you fairly promptly, so feel free to do so. Want to let you know what's coming up over the next couple of weeks. First of all, I can hardly believe it's December already and the holiday season. One reason why I know it's the holiday season is the Hallmark Channel is showing Christmas movies and it's cold outside, as opposed to showing Christmas movies in July. And but next week, we mentioned this person a little while ago, Marty Latman. Marty Latman will be here next week. It'll be December 10th for us. Managing your job search successfully. Marty Latman is a coach, and he has a tremendous amount of industry experience in financial services and as financial planning. He is a great mentor and friend of job seekers. Managing your job search successfully will be here next week. The following week, December 17th, we have a career coach panel, and you will be able to ask your questions of and speak with one of our 4 panelists of career coaches. And even though we are very appreciative of Alex, Alex is not one of the panelists, so there are 4 other coaches that you'll be able to speak with. And so stay tuned for more. And that'll be your opportunity to speak with a coach directly if you've not had an opportunity to previously before. Also, it's coming up at other organizations and groups that we like to talk about and promote. The Breakfast Club of New Jersey will be meeting next Saturday, December 11th at 8 o'clock in the morning. And of course, someone I just mentioned, Marty Latman, will be there virtually as well. Networking during the holidays. Even though this is the holiday season, it's a perfect time to network, and he will tell you why. So that'll be next Saturday, not tomorrow, but next Saturday, 8 o'clock in the morning. And then, of course, our cousin organizations, PSG of Central New Jersey, psgcnj.biz, Mondays at 10:30 in the morning, so go check them out. And PSG of Morris County, psgmc.org, are Wednesdays at 9:30 in the morning. And I did forget to mention the Breakfast Club of New Jersey. You can find more information at thebreakfastclubnj.com. So that's what's coming up over the next couple of weeks. So in just a moment, I will stop the recording, but keep the meeting open for anyone who wants to hang around the virtual meeting room. And Alex, you're welcome to, as long as your schedule allows. I know I'll be here for a little while longer. And but we do hope to see you very soon, folks, either virtually again or in person. But until that time, I will simply say, bye, everybody.